FCU, I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar. The webinar is on all you need to know about Address Farmer Market School approach. And it's going to be an exciting 1.5 hours together. So in terms of some few points to note, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us about your name, about the office you are joining us from, and your titles. And write all of those, say hi to each other. It's nice to always connect as colleagues and friends. We also have translation happening in Spanish and in French. So please select the language of preference. If you look below your Zoom page, you would find a globe. And once you click on the globe, you'll be able to select one of the 3 languages, English, Spanish, or French. There's some few quick notes for us to keep. Kindly check and ensure that your mic is muted. If you have any questions during the presentation, please put them in the chat box. We'll be monitoring all chats and then we would respond or comment and respond accordingly. If you have any contributions, also put that in the chat box. The webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent after the webinar. For today, I am privileged to introduce our main speaker for the webinar, Ms. Jeanette Chigono. Ms. Jeanette has been working with ADRA for 13 years, although she's been in the industry for over 15 years. Currently, she is the FMS technical lead, and she's been working in ADRA, focusing in the areas of food security, livelihoods, and resilience programming. She's also a market and value chains specialist who holds a master's in development and resource economics. So we are very much privileged to have someone with such great qualities leading the webinar for us. In addition, Janet has been implementing with supporting countries with implementing FMS approach. She's been supporting with market systems, with project development and concept notes development. And she has been implementing FMS from its inception phase, participated in some of the cross-learnings that has happened between Zimbabwe and Malawi, which were the pioneer countries of the FMS approach. Her responsibility is to foster growth and uptake of the FMS approach within the ADRA network, and as a preferred methodology to contribute to smallholder farmers' successful market engagement and economic inclusion in their respective market systems. Her drive will be to ensure the ADRA network has a well-known market approach that is well implemented, continuously improving, and whose impact is evidence-based and well documented. She has been instrumental in creating spaces where the ADRA community is trying to create a vibrant market systems community of practice, where ideas are generated, captured, shared, implemented, and improved. Please join Janet in mapping the pathways for creating innovative and sustainable solutions to the economic growth of the communities that we work and serve, ensuring all may live as God intended. Janet, it's a privilege to welcome you to the webinar. It's over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Afia. And hello, everyone, whichever part of the globe that you are in. I would like to welcome you to this webinar and thank you for registering and attending and being part of the Farmer Market School community of practice. So without further ado, Afia, can you assist with the presentation? So we would like to once again welcome you to this webinar on sharing on all you need to know about ADRA's Farmer Market School approach. I refer to it as ADRA's because it is an initiative that was started by ADRA, and we will delve into more details as the presentation goes forth. So why farmer market schools? One would ask. So we will take you through the different phases of the farmer market school, how it started and how it has been progressing, and at the stage where we are at. So we are going to take the presentation is going to be in two parts. The first being an introductory to the farmer market school approach. Then we look at the impact stories that we have gathered of the farmer market school approach. And then last but not least, where we are at with farmer market school. So the starting point is why the farmer market school approach, one would ask. So as ADRA, we have actually realized that most approaches end when an NGO stops operations in a community where they've been working in. And in most instances, the communities lack the capacity to access the markets, and the issue of market access remains a major challenge in most of the communities that we work with. And there is lack of information to inform the farmers in making farming decisions. In most of the instances where you would really interact with these farmers, most of what they know about the market players are the middlemen, and they lack any other information beyond that. And for most producers, which are the smallholder farmers, their production is mostly to producing to sell rather than having that pull factor where they've an identified market, and that is the pulling factor that is then contributing to the decisions that they make in what to produce. So the farmer market school introduced a value chain kind of thinking where the thinking of smallholder farmers is moving from just producing to market, but being informed by the markets, being market oriented. So the farmer market school introduces a sustainable approach that empowers farmers to access the markets, as you appreciate as this presentation is going on. So when you then want to zero into the issue, why what is the real problem? We deal with smallholder farmers, and output per unit land is very low, and the production and even the productivity, it does not align very well with what the markets are demanding. And in most of the instances, despite the fact that most of what we see on the global market is coming from the smallholder farmers, that they do not enjoy even a share of what they contribute onto the markets. So the objective of the farmer market school is to empower the smallholder farmers to switch from being subsistence farmers to agricultural entrepreneurs who continuously engage with the markets, utilizing the information that they get when they interact with the markets, as they will be rolling out the farmer market schools. And they continue to adapt to what the market trends will be demanding, and specialize in specific value chains that they would have identified. So to give us more information about what the farmer market school is all about, we are going to see a video that gives us a snippet on how we can best present to you what the farmer market school is all about. So Afia, may you please assist with.
Is the volume coming through?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
In ADRA, we support the people to build livelihoods that can help them to move out of poverty. For most people in Africa, agriculture is their main economic activity supporting their livelihoods. That is why ADRA, among other things, works with small-scale farmers who are mostly women. However, many of the farmers have limited knowledge of the factors that determine the price of their farm produce on the market. That is why ADRA Denmark developed an approach that we call the Farmer Market School approach, or simply FMS. Through facilitation, workshops, study visits, and peer learning, the small-scale farmers learn which crops are on demand and in which form and quality the products sell best. The small-scale farmers are encouraged to work together since this can reduce their costs and secure better deals for them with the buyers. In essence, FMS makes the small farmers to focus on the production and sale of those crops they know are in high demand. For example, here is Grace from Tanzania. It is very important for her family's upkeep to sell her produce for a good and fair price. Before Grace knew how the market works, she sold her vegetables at a low price offered by the middlemen. She also did not know what she could do if there was a glut of, for example, bananas, and the price fell extra low for a period of time. But then, Grace joined an FMS group. Now the trainings, group discussions, and field visits to, for example, the city's market and restaurants was an eye-opener for her. She and the other group members realized that they would each be able to increase the sales and earnings by first analyzing the market and adjusting their production according to market demands, and secondly, by doing some value addition on their produce and thus improve the selling price. On behalf of the entire FMS group, Grace and two other group members negotiated a favorable agreement with a supermarket for weekly deliveries of an agreed volume of fresh vegetables. Grace was also inspired to fry and sell banana slices as snacks. Now she earns 5 times more per banana when it is fried. Her total profit in 1 year has tripled. Grace and her group members bought a motorcycle with a luggage rack together, thereby saving on the cost of transporting produce to the town market. After 30 weeks of Farmer Market School, Grace has established a good business and she dreams of investing in another piece of land closer to the market for her banana snacks. Grace's family of 5 is finally getting sufficient food every day. She has opened a savings account for the children's further education and has started to buy essential things for the family and herself, things she could only dare to dream of owning in the past.
Thank you very much, Afia. So in the video, you may see that the example that was used was for crops, but the principle of Farmer Market School, it applies to all sorts of value chains. It could be cropping, could be livestock. So as was alluded to in the presentation, ADRA Denmark developed this approach, and this approach was piloted in Malawi and in Zimbabwe. So can you take us to that, back to the slides where we are now talking about the Farmer Market School and the experience that we have seen. So like I did mention, the pilots were done in Zimbabwe and Malawi in 2017. We need to go to the slide that says why FMS. I think it's slide number 8. What is FMS? Slide number 7.
Sorry, my mouse pad is.
So from the experiences that we gained from the piloting process that was done in Malawi and in Zimbabwe, it was really realized that FMS was a methodology that was very useful in terms of building the capacity of the smallholder farmers to acquire information about the markets, skills to engage with the markets, explore the markets, and be ready to engage with the markets with all this skill set, and even knowing how to navigate in the markets. So we would like then to take you through the processes of the Farmer Market School's conceptual framework. The starting point is there is training that happens for farmer market school facilitators. They undergo through a theoretical training on trying to understand how the markets work. After they've gone through that theoretical training and building of skills of how to engage, communicating, and even interviewing and engaging, approaching certain markets, they take the leading role to go to the market, to collect information through market research. And when they do market research, it's pretty much open to any value chain of choice. So they visit the entire value chain, trying to understand the flow of that particular value chain or multiple value chains, that when they go for market research, they collect as much information as possible. And then they come back to then make an assessment of the different value chains, comparing them to inform market informed decisions that then informs the production. And then they go back, and then they, with that kind of information in their respective groups, the selection of the crops to grow for identified markets, and then there's continuous engagement with those markets, but then they start to produce for identified markets. And once they start to do that, then there's also a need to maintain a presence in that particular market that they would have identified, which is where we now link the farmer market school to the farmer field schools or any other production related kind of trainings. Next. So the FMS implementation process cycle goes like this. In a country office that would like to start this process, the starting point is to conduct a stakeholder mapping, identify the potential stakeholders that work with that particular country office in terms of the sector that the farmer market schools will be centered around. And these representatives from these stakeholders will also be very critical when the trainings are now being conducted by the FCU in the country office, where we will be training farmer market school master trainers. These are comprising the stakeholder representatives and ADRA staff. And after that, they then go and start to cascade to the communities. The sensitization meetings, formation of farmer market school classes. Usually a farmer market school class should be between 20 to 25 members. Then they go through the training, which is guided by a manual, which will be availed through the FCU, but they go through the basic theory. And then after they've gone through the theory, they go and explore the markets, gather information from the markets, and then there's dissemination by these FMS representatives back to their respective groups. So when they go through a module, they go and they feedback to their groups, and then dissemination of what they would have found out are the requirements of the markets. And then the groups then start to make decisions on which lines to produce, and they start producing for the market. And usually what then happens when the groups start producing for the markets, there is a need to maintain a presence that is related with an increase in production. And usually that is where you start seeing the need to access finance in order to meet the market demand. And another important element that also needs to come through is we are dealing with smallholder farmers. So there's fragmentation in farmer market. These farmer market school groups may be in different geographic locations, but if they are targeting the same markets, then there is need for deliberate effort to be made for these groups to be coordinating and collaborating their production as they approach the same market and avoid competing with one another. Next, please. So to date, farmer market school is now being implemented in 12 countries, 2 in Asia, namely Nepal and Bangladesh, and 10 in Africa. In Africa, we are in Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Madagascar. This has been a big improvement from when the inception was only in 2017, and in 7 years down the line, we are in 12 countries, which is very good progress. Next slide, please. And collectively, when you now look at the statistics of the reach that we now have collecting data from all these countries, we are reaching to a total membership of about 40,262 farmer market school members. And these are from 2,127 groups. Remember the composition that I did mention. A farmer market school group is a class is between 20 to 25, and these go on to cascade to train other farmer market school groups. So that is how we've managed to reach this many people in these years that we've started to implement farmer market school. Next slide, please. So to take us through to the next phase, we would then like to look at what has been happening, and we want to start looking at the impact that has been made. So we'll kick off the second part of our presentation with a video that is showcasing some of the recorded impact that we have collected from a couple of countries. Afia, may you please assist with the next video? So as she prepares to bring to play the video that you're about to see, these are stories that were documented from farmer market school groups, from the pilot groups that we mentioned, some of them from Malawi, some from Zimbabwe. So these are some of the profiled stories that we managed to gather to share with you today.
Janet, is the sound coming through?
Coming through.
Most smallholder farmers have negative experiences with the market. They fetch low prices for their crops, and the greed of the middleman is perceived as an unchangeable fact of life. Farmer market schools were initiated to address this.
My name is Edna Kalonga from TA Kawinga Mashinga. We were in a farmer cooperative group of 25 when we made the choice to join the farmer market school group. We were not aware of the need to plan household income, though we were doing several farming activities. Our produce was being bought by ordinary vendors and low prices.
My name is Esther Chindamba. I live in Lodesi village, TA Kawinga. Vendors used to come in the village and buy from us at low prices and in bits. In turn, they would go and resell the produce to far-off places and get more returns than us. This made our status remain the same since we sold our produce in bits and pieces.
The farmer market school approach was initiated by ADRA in 2015 with some farmers in Malawi who were organized in 2 groups of farmer researchers. After training in some basic market issues by ADRA, they simply went to visit markets to find out how their value chains functioned. This is how the Farmer Field School has been transformed to what is now Farmer Market School.
We realized the importance of bulking compared to selling individually to vendors. Now we understand the concept of bulking and receiving payments as a group. We sold our bulk produce of pigeon peas to Admark, and from the returns I bought fertilizer and planted maize. I have harvested 40 bags, and from the profits I have managed to buy land in Lilongwe and open a grocery shop. My children are attending school now without lacking any school resources. I also bought livestock and chickens We no longer run short of meals. All is well now with my family.
Komano ADRA Malawi bungwe limene litabwera nkutiphunzitsa kuti farm market school ndi chani. Kenaka titaziwa tinamba kuyenda ku makampani kumene kuti pamene tinaona kuti msika wabwino ndi.
Other groups started to supply vegetables to supermarkets. Grading and packaging were found to add value to vegetables.
Farmers Market School is part of Farmers Field School. In Farmers Market School, we train specific techniques and skills to enable farmers manage and prepare their crops for marketing. We then look at the market to know the supply, presentation of the product, price, and the mode of payment. For example, by cash or check, or partly cash and partly by check. However, we also teach them negotiation skills for seller and buyers. One most important skill we train the farmers is the packaging techniques. For example, how to package tomatoes by weighing them first, sorting according to size, damaged crop, and then package it in an excellent plate, then wrap it nicely with plastic film. We also teach farmers customer relation, like being welcoming and attractive presentation.
After being educated in farm market school, our families are no longer the same. We have benefited a lot from the lessons. Of my 6 children, it's only one girl whom I failed to send to school since I did not have the skills to make extra income that I have now. But for the rest, I managed to send them to school. As I'm speaking, they started Form 1 and now are in Form 4.
We are so excited with the Farmer Market School approach because of the life-changing impact it has brought on our farmers. Our farmers have suddenly exhibited the I can attitude, the self-confidence and self-motivation. They have become more market-oriented and they are more responsive to the needs of the market.
The vision is not that farmers will always bypass the middleman, but that detailed market knowledge will guide the farmers to produce for market specification and maybe even increase value by grading and packaging.
So to add on to some of the impact stories that we thought would be worth sharing with you today, crossing over from these 3 countries that have been presented in this video, would like to hear the experiences of Zambia, the impact that FMS has had in their project. So would like to give this opportunity to Jonathan to take us through the Zambia experiences. Afia, if you could help out with the presentation for the next slide, impact. And Jonathan, you can then go ahead to take us through Zambia's experience.
Thank you so much, Janet, and greetings to everybody. As Zambia, we are so excited to talk about FMS because I can say we are privileged to have witnessed firsthand the impact of the farmer market schools on the smallholder farmers. So when actually I'm called upon to talk about the impact stories, sometimes I even have difficulties to find where to start from because we have implemented the farmer market schools in different projects, and from each of them, at least we are able to witness firsthand the impact with the farmers. So for today's presentation, we have singled out a couple from one of the farms projects which we are implementing in the eastern part of the country. And with this one, we have seen the impact of the farmer market schools, but also she also says that her dreams have come true because of the farmer market school approach, which she, the knowledge that she got from other projects. So we are going to talk about Flores Banda and the husband Zambu. So Flores joined the ADRA in 2020, and she was privileged to be part of the participants in the catchment area. And this is a couple that has lived on the farming as their major source of livelihood. So they do both food crops and also horticultural crops, but they had been facing quite a lot of challenges because of the drying of their irrigation points when they are off season. So that bothered them quite for some time. But when the project came in and she was recruited as part of the participants on the project, Florence was empowered with some garlic and some trainings. The package also included trainings in farmer market schools. So after trainings in farmer market schools, their group actually embarked on the market research, and they were able now to find a market with one of the leading supermarkets in the country and in the province, and that is Choppies. So they got an agreement to start supplying Choppies with their produce, and one of them was garlic, which was being promoted by the project. So she sold in the first year, and then we kept some of the proceeds, and then in the second year, she was able to sell also about 140 kgs of garlic, of which she realized 2,800. Now, with this 2,800 and the agreement that she had with Choppies, Flores was confidently able to approach an organization called the Jacana, which supported farmers with irrigation equipment and also get into an agreement, provided there was assurance that they would pay, get into an agreement to make sure that they pay up for the installations and the borehole in a period of 1 year. So she approached this organization, and their requirement for payment of upfront is 2,000. So she sold about 2,800, and she was able to pay that upfront. In terms of surety, she was able to present the agreements which they had with Choppies. So this organization was able to come to take the upfront and do a borehole for her on agreement that she would pay up the balance. The total cost of the installation was 18,000 Zambian kwacha. So after that, she was able to, they drilled the borehole for her, and then they were able now to produce their crops, even in the period of less water. When there was no water in other areas, they were able to produce their crops, and they even increased their production from 1 lima, which they were doing, to 4 limas, and they were able now to grow different types of vegetables. So according to her, what really impacted her life was the knowledge about the farmer market schools, because now she was able to time their crops to ensure that they get on the market at the time when there is less supply on the market. So they are able to grow now different crops. And from that, she has really seen a lot of change in her life. And the husband also testifies that with the throughout production that they are doing now, they are able to meet most of their financial needs, which they were not able to meet before they were trained in the farmer market school. So Florence is one in actually a group of the women that were trained, who started actually with drilling of the bore and installations. And the good news is that after the installations, within a period of 6 months, Florence was able to clear off the loan that she had gotten for the borehole. She was able to pay off that, and they are now continuing to grow their crops now as a family and supplying the market. Then also, apart from Florence in the same group, we now have 6 more other people who have followed the same, because for them to access the market with the choppies, they were demanded to produce these, to supply in a period of time certain quantities, and they could only meet them by working together as a group and supplying. So this same company, Jacana, managed to drill for Florence and also drilled for 6 other members of this FMS group that was trained. So this is one of the stories that we are excited to share about Florence, that we have witnessed and seen the first-hand impact of the FMS approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I think from Zambia, we cross over to Madagascar. We invite Loveness to share with us the Madagascar experience. Over to you, Loveness.
Hi, Janet. Hi, everyone. Greetings from Madagascar. Tony will present on behalf of Madagascar. Tony, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Loveness. And thank you to everyone. Good morning here from the US. The success story. Here I would title it Transformation of the FMS Group, Swafianata. In Madagascar, we have trained over 9,000 smallholder farmers from 450 groups within the districts we were operating on the Fuvana project in 2 regions in the southern eastern part of Madagascar. And with the coming in of the FMS train, we have seen tremendous changes. And one of the groups we picked on is the Swafianata group. There's the Farmer Market School, which is located in the regions and the Mananjari district, has experienced a remarkable transformation since its establishment in 2023, May 2023. Before their orientation in the FMS approach, the members, like we are seeing 14 males and then 6 women, participated in the training through the FFS and the Village Savings and Loan Association, and their primary crops included irrigated rice. They do also beans, they do cassava, they do sweet potatoes, lettuce, and some other vegetables. Before the FMS training, the group, they were struggling in getting fair prices for their products, often selling to anyone who was willing to buy, even at lower prices. For instance, beans at that time were sold at 1,000 ariary per kapuka, the measure in Madagascar, which is equivalent to 4,000 ariary per kilo, while hulled rice was fetching 800 ariary per kapuka, converting to 2,800 ariary per kilo. In addition, decision-making within the households were also dominated by men. Women do not come in when it comes to the sales, the pricing, all decisions on the income. The men were dominating here, with little input from women regarding the use of income earned from these sales. Discussions about money were rare, and it was always the man who made the final decision. One of the members shared this to us. The turning point came with the FMS training, where the members learned valuable lessons such as understanding the seasonal calendar and the importance of timing in sales. This is one of the great topics within the manual that is used in training these farmers. By holding on to beans until December and January during the Christmas and the New Year periods, they could sell at 1,500 ariary per kaproka, converting to 6,000 ariary. So it moved from 4,000 ariary to 6,000 per kilo. Okay, that is at harvest time. Now, additionally, they learned about value addition. Within the training, there is a value addition topic, which is very extensive in there. Selectively harvesting, they learn about this value addition. And so selectively harvesting quality ears of the rice to sell as local seeds. They did not know about it. This training came in and they were able to figure out that then the rice that we are producing, we could harvest the ears, because when they went on the market visit, which is also part of the training, they saw these things sold by other people and which fetched higher prices in November and December during the sowing season at the Vutamandri Rice Nursery. They saw this. The training also brought about significant changes in the household dynamics. This is one of the things that we saw, and then we knew that the farmers had picked on all that they were trained in. The lessons on gender balance fostered a culture of shared decision-making between husbands and wife, encouraging mutual respect and collaboration. Now, couples make joint decisions on when to sell, whom to sell to, at what price, and the quantity to be sold. Now, we got one farmer telling us, now we decide together on expenses and savings. There is trust and mutual respect. Another member said that, reflecting the positive shift in their approach to managing household finances. The impact of these changes has been very profound by strategically timing their sales and making joint decisions. Members of the FMS Swafianacha have significantly improved on their incomes, their savings, and financial management, leading to better livelihoods and a more sustainable future for the family. And this is not occurring on only this FMS group, but there are many other beautiful stories that have brought great impacts. So this is one of the groups we would want to share from Madagascar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony. And I think on that note, I would just like to acknowledge that on the screen, you can see the picture with the gentleman holding soap in their hands. That's a story from Madagascar that is worth also checking on. And even the lady in the picture in the middle is also from Madagascar. There are so many stories to share. Time fails us to share all of them. And then the picture to the far right, that's also another story of an FMS facilitator from Zimbabwe holding the fort, leading groups, training people, and also monitoring the quality of produce that goes onto the market. There are so many stories that we could share today, but for now, in the interest of time, we will end here and we'll open up to questions. So over to you, Afia, to be guided on the question and answer session.
Thank you, Janet, for taking us through such wonderful presentations so far. We have a few questions that have come up. One is, how do we include disadvantaged groups in master trainer of FMS? We see only gender segregation data in the PowerPoint slides. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think I got it. So the issue of stakeholder mapping is an important element. So we also need to be very deliberate in the way that we are also approaching the issue of inclusivity, when we are doing the stakeholder mapping. So even the issue of disability, and even making sure that we are reaching out to those disadvantaged groups, even during the training, that is also one of the key things that we also look at. So even selection of places where the farmer market school trainings will be held, so that they are all these elements are embedded and are taken into consideration to make sure that there is participation of all the members of the community, including women. So the gender aspects, there has to be a participatory process where, when we are now cascading these trainings in communities, we need to be very deliberate in terms of making sure that the times that have been picked, they also encourage the participation of even women and all parties represented, including the disadvantaged communities. I hope this is not really covered in the PowerPoint slides, but it's something that even as the FCU, we can work with the country offices to make sure that issue of inclusion is adequately addressed, and there's participation of all community members. Over.
Thank you for that, Janet. We have another question. Are there examples of the results from FMS continuing after ADRA projects have ended?
Yes, they are. In the picture that I have just shown you, I have shown you like the 3 pictures that they are, and many other examples, even from the FMS evaluations. There are many stories that we have profiled, and this is the sustainability element that we will be talking about when we are saying the issue of including the stakeholders is very important, because when a project ends, some of these stakeholders, they remain to mentor and to facilitate the engagements with the farmers groups. And as we also train, the second level of training, when we have trained country office staff, they go to train community-based farmer market school facilitators. And these are some of the key agents of change that also continue with farmer market schools even after the project has ended. Very good examples in the just ended evaluation that was done in Zimbabwe this year, where we went to projects that were implemented as far back as 2021, 2022. The groups are still in existence and they are growing. And the farmer market school facilitators are training more groups, and they are linking them to the market, and they also play a role in terms of quality control of what goes onto the market. So you can actually see the skills are also being transferred to very able-bodied members of the community, some of them who are even initially, when some of the projects started, they didn't even know that they had that skill, but now it's a source of income, because when they engage with these groups and these groups are selling to the markets, they actually offer a service fee to every group for the produce that is sold onto the market. And these are some of the models that we see to be working very well. For more details, you can also refer to some of the evaluation reports that have been done in other countries. We share some of this information in the spaces where farmer market school community practice and dialogue is ongoing.
Thank you. Another question. Do the farmers contract for marketable volume and price, or just sell for general agreement?
Okay, there was a hand up with Dr. Mainu. I'm not so sure
yes,
if
there was a hand. I just wanted to share a statement that one of the groups told us in terms of continuing to do what they are doing after the project from Madagascar. There was a group we visited during the evaluation, and then these people were working on basket composting, a method which increased cassava yields. And aside the improvement they saw, which was about 5 times what they were traditionally doing before the FMS training. Now the FMS training teaching them to be able to store until the peak price period so that they have they maximize their profit. These farmers did that. They stored, they delayed the harvesting of cassava until they reach the high peak price season, then they sell. Now, during evaluation, we asked them, are you going to continue? They told us that, look, we are going to continue and also train our children and our grandchildren to hold on to this because it is helping us get more income from it. So that is one from Madagascar. And now you go and then you find that they are continuing even after the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So back to the other question, do the farmers contract for marketable volume and prices or just sell for general agreements? So there is a module even in the farmer market school training manual where the farmers are actually taken through how to engage in contracts, and it also depends on which markets that they would have also engaged in. So there's a variation of some of them, they are gentlemen's agreements, but you would find that they are honored. And some of them, they are also producer contracts. So it is very varied, where some actually do have written contracts, some are verbal agreements. But then because of the relationships and the ongoing engagement that happens, and the nature of the relationships also vary, but there is a consistency in terms of engaging and even honoring some of the agreements that would have been made. But definitely there's one module where we will actually look at that. How do they get into contracts and all that? Over to you, Effia.
Okay, and then for our very last question for this round. Farmers have often lower education. Illiteracy is high. What experience have you made in empowering them? Over.
Oh, so this is very true. In most of the communities that we've been working with, the levels of literacy, they are not the same. So the farmer training school approach is very, very basic and not very complicated. When it is being trained in communities, it is mostly using the very less complicated kind of methodologies like illustrations or role plays and use of visuals more than maybe writing a lot. And some of the processes are quite engaging, where there is going through something and experiencing it. So it's kind of a different method of training which is not premised on the teaching methodology, but facilitation. And one of the key things that we have also deliberately done, right now we are reviewing the farmer market school manuals, and to make sure that some of the farmer market school facilitators who are not as literate as some of the facilitators that we have encountered, they are able to use the manuals. We will try to use as much graphics as is possible, that even one who cannot really follow the content, when they follow through, maybe you just looking through the illustrations, they can be in a position to follow and they can comprehend what is really happening. So those are some of the engaging methods that would be used. And the fact that there is peer-to-peer learning. So I did mention that there is selection of representatives from farmer market school groups. So farmer market school groups choose individuals that go to be trained. So not everyone in a group is trained. So those representatives, when they go into feedback, the rest of the other farmer group members, the communities have got ways of also getting back and passing on information to their peers in a very less complicated manner, and the rest can also even follow through the proceedings as like the practical, the exploratory learning, because this is where the farmer market school is basically premised on exploratory and experiential learning. So it's more about discovering practical aspects more than most of the theory, which is basically maybe a little part of the training. I hope I've adequately responded to the question. Afia, back to you.
Thanks, Janet, and thank you so much for the engagement. We do have a couple of questions. I will hold on to those until we finish the last part of the presentation, and then we can come back to any of the other questions that are remaining. Also, please feel free to continue to post your questions in the chat box. We are following all of those, and we'll try our best to address the rest as much as we can. Janet, over to you to continue. Thank you.
All right, so we are now on the third and last part of our presentation on the FCU, where we are now. So to kick off this presentation, just to have an appreciation, we would like to know from you, maybe one or two things. Would you please respond to the pop quiz questions that are coming onto the screen? You know, just click your answers and then it would go to the polls. Just take the polls, use a minute just to respond to the questions and submit for us to take us to the next. Just a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, the questions are, do you know about the FCU? And what does FCU stand for? I see some responses are coming in. So let's all post our responses. We have 12 people so far. We have 47. Let's get to at least half, maybe 20 people post responses. Thank you. I see that more are coming in now. Thank you. Let's keep voting. This is an anonymous vote. It's for us to also know how much work we need to get done, because we want this approach to be owned by ADRA and the entire network. So do not worry, let's learn together. We have 18 people. Can you get us to 25? And then we can end the post. Perfect. 20, 21, 4 more. Okay, 2 more. We are 23, 2 more. All right, let me end the post now. And let's see the results. So I'm sure you are seeing the results.
All right, yes.
So we have about 35% saying yes, they know about FCU. 65% said no. So majority of us on the call do not know about the FCU, which is one of the reasons we are having the webinar today. And it's good for us to know. So we know we have a lot more work to do to get people to know about the structures that are available for FMS. And then we asked, what does FCU stand for? We have 39% say Farmers Cooperative Unit. That is 39%, majority of those that responded. 35% said Farmer Market School Coordination Unit. And then 26% said Farmer Market Coordination Unit. So Janet, over to you. I'm sure you touch on exactly what FCU stands for soon.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Afia. So it's good to know, and this is what this webinar is all about, to build an awareness of what the farmer market school is all about and the function of the FCU. So the FCU is an acronym that stands for Farmer Market School Coordination Unit. And this FMS Coordination Unit was established to drive the coordination of FMS activities across the network and to nurture the growth of this approach. As I did mention in my first presentation, this is an ADRA approach, so we really want to nurture its growth, strengthen the quality of implementation of farmer market school and development of best practices. In the presentation that we did, you did hear us talking about the pilot phase, the in evidence gathering, best practices, and the process is still continuous for us to come up with a very strong approach, and that can also even be adopted outside of the ADRA network. The FCU was established under the Livelihoods Technical Learning Lab. It is housed under ADRA Africa, but it serves the entire network. So because the FCU is part of the Livelihoods Technical Learning Lab, we continue to draw lessons from the lab, which is why we are also here today working together in collaboration with the LTLL to have this as a platform where we are also ensuring that we build awareness of this approach that is branded an ADRA approach being taken to the rest of the network. The FCU also works very closely with the Technical Learning Lab lead. One of the main things that the responsibilities that we have at hand is to facilitate the institutionalization of farmer market school. So because of the experiences from the TLL lead, even in facilitating the institutionalization of other processes, the FCU is working very closely with that office to ensure that we are also guided in the way to facilitate the process of us getting the FMS to that kind of a level. And the FCU also continues to draw a lot of technical expertise and support from members of the Livelihoods Technical Learning Lab. And these are the relationships and synergies between FCU and the Livelihoods Technical Learning Lab. Next slide, please. So when you now look at the FCU, there are two structures to take note of. There is what we call a steering committee. The steering committee, it looks at very strategic focus areas where the strategic direction, it steers the strategic direction of the farmer market school coordination unit. And the steering committee is currently comprised of a member from each funding office, a representative from ADRA Africa. Remember, I did mention that the FCU is housed under ADRA Africa. So the heads of programs for ADRA Africa is the representative sitting in the steering committee, and the technical learning lab lead. This is the composition of the steering committee that steers the direction of the farmer market school coordination unit. But there is a technical team that looks into very technical elements, availing of resources, even reviewing, data gathering, and all that. So that technical team is comprised of the Livelihoods Technical Learning Lab chairperson, a representative from the regions where FMS is currently active. So we have one member from Asia. Remember, I did mention that we're now implementing in 2 countries in Asia and 10 in Africa. Because there are many countries in Africa, we've got 2 representatives from Africa as part of the FCU. And the FMS technical lead is also part of the FCU, and the FMS senior consultant, who is Christian Sorensen, who is the FMS senior consultant, is also part of the FCU. So this is the composition of the FCU. The next slide, please. So just to give you maybe a bit more detail, the mandate of the FCU, Farmer Market School Coordination Unit, so I'll use the terms interchangeably, it's to provide strategic leadership and in a systematic adoption manner of the approach that we are talking about today. And there is a lot of work that goes into continuous improvement and quality implementation of the approach and facilitating the growth of the approach, as many other countries also take on the approach. So the unit focuses on the development of the approach by incorporating learnings. It could be learnings onto designing new programs, or even implementation of even other designed projects that are already there, facilitating monitoring, evaluation, and documentation of best practices, because this is the only way that we can continuously improve the products that we have for it to be in a position to be sellable and scalable as well. The other focus that we look at is ensuring that we have strengthened organizational capacity and enhanced project level effectiveness in terms of FMS approach implementation. When we're now looking at this, we mainly focus on facilitating trainings in farmer market school approach, support in terms of technical service supervision monitoring, and facilitating the engagement with stakeholders, stakeholder mapping. So this is a participatory process that we go through with country offices on a case-by-case basis, because we know the structures in countries are not the same across the board. Last but not least, the FCU's mandate is to continuously ensure that we engage more of the ADRA offices to know about the FMS approach, increasing the visibility of the approach, and in so doing, also hoping that this will also foster the adoption of the approach in the network. And the other vision is also to facilitate for that approach even outside the network, where we would like to see the adoption of this approach by other organizations as well. The next slide, please. So what does the future for FCU, for FCU look like? I did mention that one of the key things that we are looking at is the institutionalization of the FMS approach. But we do have a product, which is the farmer market school, but there are processes that we need to follow through. One of the main processes is to ensure that we have copyrights for FMS, and in the process, it then end up with an ADRA branded approach. When it is branded, then we are so sure that even when it is adopted by other organizations that are not outside of ADRA, there is acknowledgement that we are now using this ADRA approach in the same way that we keep alluding to the village savings and loan associations or the ISALs. Those were also started by other organizations, but when we use those approaches, we always acknowledge the organizations that would have developed those methodologies. So it's the same thing here. We also envision a situation where we are full of master trainers, farmer market school trainers in all the regions where ADRA is operating. As this is growing, we will be moving into other regions. So we would also like to have technical people closer to the country offices to be serving the country offices. And would also envision a future where we have more supporting countries funding FCU's work as the footprint of farmer market school grows in the network and even outside the network. So this takes us to the next slide, where we are now trying to see who are the key partners of the FCU. These are ADRA implementing and supporting offices. I did mention the roles that are played by these players. Other organizations, like right now we've been alluding to the farmer field schools, and this is an FAO approach. These are some of the key partners that we'll be looking into, and other like-minded organizations. Private sector players are key players in this mix, because they are part of the market, and yes, they are also players in terms of being enablers and also off-takers, and sometimes they even come into with producer contracts and even supplies of input packages. These are some of the experiences that we have noted. They are a very key player for the FCU. Farmer organizations, government extension agencies, it may be other structures, maybe extension, local government structures that maybe we can be mapping who will be part of maybe the core facilitators with the staff in the respective country offices. The farmers themselves and the market players themselves, these are all very key and pertinent players that the FCU values the most. Can you take us to the next slide, please? the resources that are important to the FCU, I did mention about the synergies and what the relationship with the TLL, the Livelihood Technical Learning Lab, and the members and experts that are housed in the Technical Learning Lab. We continue to tap onto their technical knowledge. Farmer Market School master trainers and facilitators. For us to facilitate the spread that we are envisioning, we need that to have that pool in place. Resource materials like manuals, pamphlets, and newsletters, all of the trainings that we are talking about, they are guided by manuals, and what is happening around in the network can also be shared through stories and videos, pictures. So impact stories, videos, and pictures are very important for us to be able to gather the evidence that we were sharing earlier on. Reports, monitoring and evaluation reports from country offices and country office FMS activities data. This is where we get most of the statistics that we've been seeing us sharing in this presentation. These are very important resource materials that the FCU really relies on for us to be in a position to give feedback and even to track where we are with what we are trying to do with the Farmer Market School approach. The next slide, please. So I did mention the steering committee that is comprised of funding offices, and currently the FCU is receiving funding from 3 offices: ADRA Australia, ADRA Denmark, and ADRA International, funding up to 2025. But looking at what we are also projecting and the kind of work that we are also projecting for the FCU, we are also exploring other funding opportunities with private donors and other foundations to also prepare ourselves for the growing work that lays ahead. So just to then sum up and just maybe share some of the challenges that we have experienced in implementation of the Farmer Market School approach. The training of the Farmer Market School approach itself does not is not attached to any distribution of materials, any hardware components. So you would find that it's basically software trainings. And this has been a very difficult situation where you get into a community with just training. We have experienced a lot of dropouts when community members realize that there are no handouts of approximately 10 to 25% dropouts. Because there are no other contributions towards financial contribution in some of these activities. The raising of contributions for the farmer market schools groups to conduct the market visits, it usually takes longer than would have been anticipated, because the groups will be depending on the contributions from the group members to pool their resources to go and then explore the markets. So depending on how much the resources are mobilized, the experiences and which markets are visited also vary. Then facilitating the linkage between the production side, once the farmer market school element is being done and they've realized this is what the markets are requiring, then now trying to go back to have that seamless transition to say, okay, this is the market trends and these are the quantities demanded, so we need to up our production to that level. Those synergies have not been as smooth, but we always try to make sure that the ways we try to get by with ways of trying to make sure that the production is increased, to make sure that the farmer market school groups are responsive to the new requirements that they would have realized when they have done their market researches. Next slide, please. So what are the main lessons that we have learned? We have actually acknowledged that this is an adult learning process, and the farmers have the capacity to learn and to learn on their own. They actually do value chain analysis on their own. they generate information, and they do engage with markets, and they are more than able to identify markets on their own, get linked, and to nurture the relationships, because they are doing it on their own, in their own, and upon the realization that this is the need that they have, not someone else trying to convince them. So this methodology actually works, because once they actually realize this is for us, by us, and the willingness to engage is very high. The practical learning elements of facilitating the farmers to walk through the chains, interacting with the value chain players, it builds confidence in the farmers, and it gives them that change of mindset even to start to produce for the markets. It's not something that you will then struggle with once there's that realization. And when those engagements start to happen, the farmers are very responsive to what the markets will be demanding. You would find them starting to come up with methods of trying to engage with the markets. And those negative vibes towards the middlemen, they disappear, because once they have information, sometimes there's that realization that, with this information, they can also actually assess, is it worth it going through this channel or going through the middleman? So it's a choice that they make. And but then the middleman is not the only way, and not the only channel that the farmers have at their disposal. That self-consciousness to say we can access any market, they suddenly realize that we can actually do this, and it is our produce that is on these markets. Some of the markets, when you start with them, they do not even have the confidence that they can actually produce for certain types of markets, but yet it is their produce that is actually on those markets. And that realization starts to give them that kind of attitude that we can do this, and we can actually engage, and the confidence to continuously engage. So we're now looking at the next slide that now talks about the best practices that, yes.
Just to note that we have 5 minutes to time. Thank you.
Yes, I'm almost done. So smallholder farmers have the ability to financially support themselves in their market research. Once they actually realize that this is what we need, they can actually do that. And one other best practice is to link the farmer market school activities with village savings and loans associations activities that initiate access to financial services for them to be in a position to increase their activities. Once the training starts rolling out and the engagement start happening, there's working together of the stakeholders that is amazing, and that is what has sustained some of the activities, FMS activities that we have been talking about. The stakeholder collaboration, even with the private sector companies, it is a very important aspect that also continues to support some of the farmer market school group activities, with some of the private sector players actually coming in as sometimes the off-takers, and some even also realizing that these farmers are now organized. There's a willingness to invest in the success of the farmer market school groups. Last but not least, the importance for a coordination body. Remember, we're talking about smallholder farmers who are fragmented. There is need for there to be a coordinating body that speaks, that one voice that speaks on behalf of these fragmented smallholder farmers, engaging with the market and then decentralizing information to the different farmer market school groups. But if they are all working in one value chain, there is need for that collaboration to happen at a higher level. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, what we are saying is that farmer market school is not a comprehensive model with ready-made solution, but process-oriented and requires continuous reviewing and learning, collection of data to continuously engage with the identified markets. If the FMS kickstarts a process of farmer learning and empowerment that also fosters even behavior change in engagement with the different value chain players, and this is where the success is hinged on, when they engage on repeated cycles and sustainable relationships are built that are with repeated cycles that can actually be sustained even outside the forces of any other players, but between the market, the farmers themselves and the value chain players. There are so many opportunities that can actually be opened up by these interactions, and the end result that we intend to see with when all this has been done is to see an increase in income and change in the livelihoods of the people that we work with, and ultimately building resilience and seeing those issues that we have highlighted, where the farmers are also enjoying a very good part of the pie from being in the market players, in the markets that they engage in. I think that brings us to the end of our presentation. If you need more information, please feel free to connect with us on the emails that are shared on the screen. Also try and follow us in the FMS Community of Practice on the Ham Hub page, and I'm sure these will be shared in the chat box for you to be in a position maybe for us to continuously engage even outside of this platform. With that, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, and over to you, Afia, for maybe another round of questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. This has been very insightful. I also want to echo that if a country office is interested in implementing FMS and does not know how to go about it, please feel free to email Jeanette. We do have some manuals available to share. We have some guidance documents. We have master trainers that can lead the country office, and the FCU would be able to also support in terms of content to put in a concept note or proposal in terms of adding FMS to your activities. So all of these are available. I believe that the email address have been posted in the chat box, and also the link to the Ham Hub page where we share some of the FMS resources. We just on the line. So 2 quick questions, Jeanette, and then we can conclude for today. The first one, how do you ensure the operationalization of this FMS approach works in most remote areas with limited access to markets, especially in South Sudan?
Okay, I think the element of stakeholder mapping comes in very handy in this instance, because I did mention that it differs on a country by country basis. So once we identify maybe agents of change, even in the most remote places, like the case of South Sudan, when the trainings for farmer market school are done, we have representatives coming from those remote communities to be the agents of change from the communities that they come from. Because peer-to-peer learning, it turns out to be a very, very strong tool that we have also seen to be working. And even if, as ADRA, we are not able to reach these most remote areas, the trained farmer market school facilitators, they are community-based. They will be in a position to work with the farmer market school groups in their areas of locality. And in terms of identifying markets, they are local markets, they are farm markets. So the types of markets that can actually be defined also differ, because even in those areas, remote as they are, but I'm sure they are also even local kind of markets which can be accessed. And through the locally trained farmer market school facilitators, these can actually help coordinate and collaborate the activities of these farmer market school groups. And through use of even technology, we can even be in a position to be in contact with some of these farmer market school facilitators to be giving us feedback on what is happening to some of the areas that are hard to reach. It is the same experience was what we went through even during the COVID period, when we couldn't be physically on the ground, but through the farmer market school facilitators who were in communities, and through WhatsApp platforms, information was conveyed and collected. So those are different methodologies that could also be used if depending on mobile access, networks and all that.
Yes, and I just to add to that, I think the Madagascar context is very much similar to probably a rural, less market developed context. And we still saw how FMS worked very well. So even though they might not have like these big shops and supermarkets to go to, you see decisions around things like, I'm producing rice, but now I see value in producing this rice seeds, where rice would sell for 2,800 per kilogram, but the seed is selling for 7,000 per kilogram. And so there's a difference in the choice of products even to focus on. So there's always opportunities regardless of how thin the market might look. One last question, and then we conclude for the day. With FMS and FCU, have you been able to attract young people to remain in the agriculture business instead of leaving rural areas?
Yes, I think in the other slide of the impact stories, there was a story that one of the first pictures, this is that I did show, that's a youth group. So once the community starts to see that there is potential to earn an income from identified value chains, we have been seeing young people staying put in their communities and being part of the farmer market school groups, because income is starting to come in, and it doesn't make sense even for them to migrate to the urban areas where there are no job prospects. But the agri businesses that are formed through the farmer market schools, they are actually growing and being part of, maybe also offering employment to even some of the young people. Like the case of Madagascar, that story that we didn't manage to talk about, and many others. But yes, we have been seeing that young people are also being captured by this once they start to see the value from the value chains they engage in. And another thing, I think it was Madagascar that did talk about the value addition element that also happens with this. That is also another space where you also realize the participation and active participation of young people being part of that part of a value chain where they are mostly active in packaging and processing and maybe logistics, transportation of produce to the markets. So yes, once each maybe group also realizes that we can actually occupy this segment of this value chain, and there is a fully developed value chain, you actually see that the youths also actively participate.
Thank you, Jeanette. We are very grateful to you for your time and for sharing this knowledge with us. I also want to thank all our participants for making time to join, for being very engaged, for your comments and contributions. It's been very insightful today. Thank you so much to the Afro office for supporting Jeanette through this process, to the LTLL and the TLL body in general for giving us the platform to host, for supporting us through the process, Shamila for supporting us in coordinating this, our translators, thank you for doing such a wonderful job. It's been a pleasure sharing with you. Please do stay connected. Join us on HubHub, send us emails, and we look forward to engaging with you in future webinars. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Thank you.